What's going on, Detroit Lions fans? Wednesday night. Hopefully, everyone's doing okay. We're halfway through the work week. It's hump day. Just a quick update. We are halfway to our membership goal. We are at 50. Once we get to 100 members, we're doing a members only giveaway. Consider it. There's a link in every single video description. Follow that. Take you right there. Two options. Second option gets you more entries. First option gets you one entry. Just think about it. It's highly appreciated, not required. Got some cool stuff we're going to give away. Some new jerseys, new numbers, some gift cards, maybe some dinner gift cards. Take your significant other out to dinner on Steve and Will as an appreciation to being a member of this channel. But Will, what are we diving into today? We're on the clock. What are we doing?
Talking prospects, man. We're talking prospects, more prospects, prospects that the Detroit Lions are interested in, prospects that one of them maybe has some roots, some MLK roots, some, you know what I mean? Some guys, man, that obviously the Detroit Lions have interest in because they brought them in for a visit. So I don't know who you want to start with, but go ahead and set the table. Who are we pulling the trigger on first?
I got a pretty nice little nickname for this guy. Quandarius Robinson of Alabama. I'm just going to start. They call him Q, so I'm just going to start calling him QR code. That's going to be his name. Scan him, get all the information you need. It's going to be right here. But brought him in for, I know you like that. Well, you're going to steal that from me later on, aren't you? If he's a Detroit Lion, you're going to start calling him QR code.
We'll see.
I'm going to be honest with you. He's an edge rusher. It's a position of need. Yeah, it fits what the Detroit Lions, in my opinion, have to start doing better. That's putting pressure on quarterbacks and putting quarterbacks on the ground. I'll be honest. When I look at Q Robinson's tape, it doesn't really wow me. Will, I don't want to be rude. I don't see him being elite at anything. When I look at him, I think I see special teamer. We drafted him just to play special teams. I don't see the need in that. So that's kind of where I'm at, and we'll dive more into it. But what are your initial feelings?
Steve.
Oh, boy, here we go. Gold jacket time or?
Steve.
Building the statue? Is that where you're going with this?
Are you nuts? Are you nuts? Listen, let me set the table. Let me set the table for you. This young man, I would call him a diamond in the rough. But I will say this: looking at his film, doing some digging on him, special teams, you say?
Yeah,
absolutely. Special teams. That's what will start to get him in the building and get him an opportunity. Special teams is what kept him alive at Alabama. But when you're talking about Quandarius Robinson, you're talking about the number one player coming out of high school in Alabama to the University of Alabama. This dude, if you watch his high school tape, was bananas. Right? He was just a freak athlete. And I don't mean freak edge rusher. I mean freak athlete. That interests me right out of the gate, right? So, but there's a lot of people that are 27-star athletes and go to college football and don't do nothing. Right? So
Deshaun Hand, former Detroit Lion as well, number one recruit coming out of high school into Alabama.
Yeah, he was a damn good football player at Bama, though. He'd have been a good football player in the NFL if he could have stayed healthy. I like Deshaun Hand, but
didn't hate it.
But I'll say this: Q's a guy who had to scratch and claw through special teams to stay a scholarship athlete at Alabama. That might scare you away until you say, wait a second, why couldn't he get on the field? Oh, Chris Braswell was there. Oh, Will Anderson was there. Oh, Dallas Turner was there. That's why this dude was having a hard time getting on the field. It's not because he's not a good football player. This dude can play some doggone football. So, and he absolutely loves special teams. If you do some digging into him, I watched some interviews, and he talks about how he's not going to let adversity break him. He is down to do whatever he needs to do to get onto the football field, whether he has to come to an NFL team and play special teams until he gets his opportunity. And he also talks about how he loves special teams. He says special teams gives him the feelings of being a kid where you don't have to worry about scheme and all this stuff for the most part. You're running down, flying around, and just tackling and hitting and having fun. So I like that aspect of it initially, that he would be willing and committed to the special teams aspect of it. And I'm quite sure that this is a guy that we can get as late as probably pick 102 in the third round, which it sounds like that you're thinking is pretty early for a guy like this. But when I look at him, it immediately makes me think about, I believe, week 8, if I'm remembering correctly. There was a guy that I was pounding the table wishing that the Detroit Lions would go try to get in free agency. Week 8, I believe, was the Tennessee Titans. If it wasn't, it was week 9. I know it was somewhere in there. But you're probably thinking about Harold Landry, but I'm not talking about Harold Landry. I'm talking about Arden Key. Arden Key started off our game as a problem that game. He's right here at the bottom, number 49, coming off of the edge here, and he is just doing mean things to Jared Goff.
I think that was the very first play of the game, wasn't it?
He started the game off right there again, the bottom right corner. This is how he starts the football game defensively against the Detroit Lions. Arden Key hitting that edge, speed rush, just causing problems. Why Arden Key? Why is he in the conversation? Well, when you look at Mr. Arden Key from LSU, third round pick, 6'5", arms, 33 and a half inches, weight, 238 pounds. Who is he? He's a guy who oftentimes you can see on the edge or you can see playing linebacker. The versatility is nutty. So maybe this is a dude who could be playing Sam linebacker for us, was the reason why I wanted to go get him so bad, because I just thought he fit. Or he could be rushing off of the edge. So when I take that image off and I go to Mr. Q Robinson, Quandarius, I see a dude 6'4", 33 and a half inch arms, a little bit bigger in 243 pounds. And when I watch the film, I see the exact same thing. I see a guy who oftentimes is playing linebacker for Alabama or is playing the edge rush position in a 2-point or a 3-point stance. I'm seeing a guy with versatility like Arden Key in a guy like Quandarius Robinson. And for those reasons, it excites me. I think it would be a phenomenal fit for the Detroit Lions. I think it's everything that the Detroit Lions want that Sam linebacker position to be. And at the end of the day, will it probably take some time to develop? It will. I don't think he's just a guy you get in the building and he's going to set things on fire. But in the meantime, he's going to help you out on special teams immediately. You're going to mix him in with those guys like Sione Vaki and these guys that we talk about, that the reason why we take all phases of this game seriously. The Craig Reynolds, who isn't just a third string running back. He's a guy that's going to light things on fire on special teams. So for those reasons and all of his leadership characteristics, he fits all the same characteristics that we talk about with the guys like Jack Campbell's and Sam Laporta. He's a captain. His team describes him as a guy who does all of the things right. Yeah. Quandarius Robinson, I would be excited to get you anywhere pick 102 or after. But I will say he's the complete opposite of a guy like Jonas Sanker, who we talked yesterday when we said this dude's ceiling is right, but his floor is also pretty high. This dude could have a floor of somebody who just is a special teamer, and that's it never makes the field, right? Or he could be a dude that turns into something really special, even potentially beyond Arden Key. So I think the sky is the limit for this guy. All this neat guy needs is an opportunity to really do his thing, and the Detroit Lions could potentially be a place when we look at how dire need we are for a guy with his style of play. He could be a place where he flourishes.
So he's pretty high on your list. It sounds like. Will, am I right?
It's not. He's exactly where I'm saying, man. He's 102 and beyond. So he's a guy that I could see potentially us taking. Now, if we're talking about pick 60, then we're going into that range where I'm looking at. I want more of. You can't say a sure thing, but I want like the the
Better
Jordan
odds.
Birches and Josiah Stewarts, and I'm like, those are the guys that I'm kind of looking at in that range. Once we get past that, oh yeah, I'm very interested.
When I was watching Q's NFL Combine interviews, I really liked that he was talking up a lot of his teammates. He was talking up guys like Jahad Campbell, some of the freshmen. Someone asked a question, if you were to take some of your money, your first NFL paycheck, who would you bet money on as a freshman on Alabama to make it to the league? And he said, how long you guys got? I can name off about 10 guys. And he threw out Ryan Williams, obviously a big one. He just went down the list. I like that he seems like a really good locker room guy. I don't think we'll have any questions or issues, but on the field, I just think there's better options in the draft. Now, if Brad Holmes throws some curveballs and maybe we start drafting some interior offensive linemen or a wide receiver in rounds 2 and 3, and we get to pick 102 or something like that, and he's the guy, I don't know. I still see him as a project player. I don't see him as a guy who's ready to just come into the league and get meaningful reps on anything besides special teams. So I'm not exactly wowed. I just think that where I have some really strong questions in the draft is probably in the middle. And I think that there's still some guys in those 3, 4, 5 rounds that are still like NFL ready. And I just don't see Q Robinson being one of those guys.
I get it. I respect it. It's a reason why he's been quietly not talked about too much. I just think that he offers something that nobody on our team can offer us right now. And there's not a lot of guys in the league who can offer it. That guy who can play linebacker at a pretty doggone good level and also be an edge rusher at a doggone good level. They tried to do it with Jack Campbell, not a chance. And he's got short arms. That's probably part of the problem right there. They've tried to do it with guys like James Houston. There's no chance, no dice or whatever. So I think that he's a guy who has a crazy amount of versatility. He can run. I was looking at him in his pro day. This dude, he didn't run the 40, but this dude can run, man. He's coming off an injury, and I think that it was almost a blessing in disguise for a team that's looking to get him later on in the draft that he ended up missing the back half of the season with an elbow injury, because I don't think that we're having this conversation about him pick 102 and beyond if he would have played a full season, because at the first half of the season, he was leading Bama in sacks. He's a guy, man. To me, he rushes off with the edge better than Jahad Campbell, who are people are talking about him turning him into a guy like Micah Parsons that's going to be able to play linebacker and rush off of the edge. I think he's already got him beat. He's a guy who can dive down inside and beat guards, but he could also rush off the edge and beat tackles. He beats you with speed. He can beat you with hands. He's got long arms, which is a trait that you're looking for when you're looking to shed guys. This is a guy that he has a lot of upside. And to me, once you're talking about third round, you're not going to get guys that have all of the pieces. And once you're in this third round, once you're in the second round, guys are missing something. That's why they're second rounders. That's why they're third rounders. That's why they're fourth rounders, because there was something in their game that's lacking or still needs to be developed. And that's why, they've slid. But he's one of those few guys that I think you could be looking at as a guy like another guy that I thought that he kind of reminded me of was Leonard Floyd. It's just long, maybe not the heaviest guy, but has super heavy hands and just a lot of upside, man. It's the reason why those slender guys slide into the third round. You don't know whether they're going to be able to get to this league and be physical, or they're going to get to this league and get bodied, man. I think he's a guy who's got enough of finesse and athleticism to his game to keep himself from getting bodied.
I think what interests me the most is Brad Holmes loves Alabama football, right? Like, we've drafted an Alabama player the last 3 years. So I know that's kind of trending on Twitter. Like, everyone's saying, oh, Brad drafts from Alabama. Like, it's got to be a sure thing. I don't know. I'm curious to see what he sees. I'm curious to see what he's thinking, what his plans are, and what his draft value is for Q Robinson. If he has him ranked a little higher and, we're talking pick 102, if he's the guy, I don't know. We'll have to see. This draft's just so deep. I think that there's some of these guys that are round 2 draft picks, I think in most drafts would be round 1, but that's just how loaded this defense is in the draft this year. So I think they're just some guys getting pushed back because there's just that many damn good players coming out this season. But who else we got for today?
Listen, like I said,
hometown kid.
Yeah, King High School, man. We got none other than First things first, man, it's kind of a problem because if we do draft him, we're gonna have another Reed on this team. Like that can we deal?
Well, two reads and a reader.
Yeah, man. So can we deal with another? Can we deal with another Reed on this team? But none other than Jaylen Reed, man, from Penn State, safety, standing at 6 foot, 210 pounds. He's a guy, man, that excites me. But I'll let you flow into him first, man, because I kind of took the show with you.
That's fine. I absolutely hate Penn State football. All right, I absolutely hate Penn State football, but I respect that on defense. They're just tough. They're a tough physical team. Like they play very, very physical type defensive football. And that's what I like. They've been putting some guys that, like we just mentioned, Micah Parsons, Jaquan Brisker, Chicago Bear that we were pretty high on coming out of the draft. But he's always banged up. And I just look at Jaylen Reed and think, is he the next Jaquan Brisker? But can he stay healthy? Is he a position of need? Kind of safety. Like we're not very deep there. I like his style of play. He'll come down and hit you. He'll come down and he can defend. He can cover. He can do a lot of different things. I have him mocked, and I think in my first mock draft, I think I got him in like round 3 or 4, and I was like, Jaylen Reed might be steal of the draft if the Detroit Lions walk away with him in round 4. So I really like his game. I like his physicality. I like everything he has to do. And I use the Jaquan Brisker thing because I do see a lot of similar traits, and not just because they went to the same school, but I really do like Jaquan Brisker or Jaylen Reed. As a safety, I don't know that I love him more than Sanker, but it's 1A, 1B for me. I'm real close with him.
Yesterday, we talked about Jonas Sanker for the second time, and I alluded to the fact that there's some guys that I got ranked slightly ahead of him. I'm not going to say it's not close or anything like that, but Mr. Reed is a little bit more my flavor. Right? He plays the game with a level of intensity that excites me. Right? He was asked a question about what's his mentality, what's his mindset out there on the field. I had to write it down. He said, "My mindset is I'm going to make the world feel it. I'm going to make the world feel it." It's his mindset out there. And he's a guy that's trying to put on for his city and change the life of his family. And he's not playing games about what he's trying to do when he gets to the NFL. I think there's a little bit more versatility there. I think he can play the nickel position at a higher level than Mr. Sanker can. Not that Mr. Sanker can get he's not going to be decent there. I just think that Jaylen Reed will be a better nickel. And really, essentially, we're looking at somebody who can be a reserve safety and then play down in that box if needed. And that's the bottom line to me. So at the end of the day, I think it's more of a fit. He fits more of the style to me of Brad Holmes getting a DB that's got versatility, who can play in multiple spots in the secondary. I think Sanker's probably most likely a strong safety that jumps down into the box here and there, but he's not going to be a guy that's playing all over the secondary. I think Reed will give you some more options. That's another reason why he excites me. He jumps out on special teams immediately too. I don't know, man. The upside I feel like is there too. I feel like he could actually be a young player that turns into something that's exciting and special. For those reasons and the hometown connection, I'm always cheering for the hometown guys. I got him just ahead of Sanker, man. So I don't know. It remains to be seen what'll really happen. But which one you got on the top? Did you just say that? Which one you had? Did you have Sanker in front of him, or how was it?
I don't want to be influenced. I don't know. I honestly don't know right now. I know politicians answer, but let me ask you a crazy question. Could he be what we wanted Iffy Melifonwu to be, but maybe just not as big? Because Iffy was like 6'3", 6'4", and Jaylen Reed's only 6 foot. But if he stays healthy, could we see him playing some safety when maybe we drop 3 safeties out there with Brian Branch, Kirby, and a Jaylen Reed? Like, you think that might be what Shep and Dan Campbell are thinking? Like, is he a Iffy replacement possibility?
I think Sanker is more of an Iffy replacement than he would be. Just two different styles. Iffy was almost a dang near a linebacker. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was like a hybrid linebacker. He was a guy that was like, he's 6'3", 6'4", He was pushing 210, 215.
That's why I asked, because I know he's only listed as 6 foot, but he's 210 pounds. Like, he's not as tall, but he's still, he's still beefy enough to get down in there. So that's what I was kind of thinking is he? I think our defense played really damn well, especially a couple years ago with Iffy healthy on the field, and it was noticeably different. But this past season, Iffy just couldn't stay on the field. So are they thinking like, man, if we could get a guy that can do those same things but just be reliable, is that what we could be looking at?
I'm not gonna say no. I just don't see it out of him. I see it more out of Sanker than I see more Iffy Melifonwu out of Sanker than I do Jaylen Reed. But who knows, man? Who knows? I do feel like, Reed offers some things that Iffy Melifonwu couldn't, though, too. But hey, Iffy was going to blitz.
Being able to actually play football on Sundays.
I'm not going to disrespect.
Come on, man. It's not disrespect if it's honest. It's just, hey, if you're not available, that's why he didn't get re-signed, I think. So I think Jaylen Reed would be a good fit. It's just he's not as tall, but can he still go down there and play some hybrid linebacker? I could kind of see it. I think he plays the run very, very well. If you play Penn State football, you better be able to play the run, because every team in the Big Ten, that's what they're trying to do, is run the football. Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin. You play Big Ten football, you better get up in that box and learn how to stop the run, because if you don't, you're going to find out the hard way. So when you come to the NFL, I know it's more of a passing league, but there's some teams that are trying to steal the Detroit Lions formula of just having 2 elite running backs and an offensive line and take some pressure off your quarterback if you don't have a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes. So running the football is still a massive part of the game. And if we're stopping that, I know the Lions have been like a top 3 team against the run the last couple of years. So if they're just trying to keep that strength and improve in the passing defense, I think Jaylen Reed would be a huge perfect fit. So I think he's a 3rd, 4th round steal. I'd be absolutely thrilled. If we got a defensive tackle, a defensive end, and then round 3, you ended up with Jaylen Reed or a Kyle Williams from Washington State, well, we've already run the draft. There's really no reason to even show up on day 3.
I mean, the way that this show has fell, I got to ask the question. Reed is there.
Ooh, don't do this to me. You like to turn the heat up on Steve Perkins with some of these would you rather in certain situations, because I could always give a politician's answer, Will, but I'll let you continue.
Reed is there. Mr. Robinson is there. You only get one. Who you taking?
Can I ask who we took in rounds 1 and 2?
We have what we need. So by that, I'm just gonna say this: we got an edge rusher.
Okay.
So in our first 2 picks.
Okay.
Because I really think that's gonna happen. Whether it's a hybrid edge rusher or it's just a straight up edge rusher, we got an edge rusher.
So
and then we got
round 3. I have to pick between Jaylen.
Pick 102.
102. I have to pick between Sanker and Jaylen Reed.
No, you gotta pick between Quandarius Robinson and Jaylen Reed.
This is one of those situations where I know whoever I pick, Will Ford Sr. is going to pick the other one. So I'll just go ahead and say, if I've already kind of helped my pass rush, I'm going to help my secondary, and I'll take a Jaylen Reed.
I dig it. I wasn't even going to answer it.
Come on. Well, I've been playing chess with you for a long time. I know.
I swear I wasn't, man. But yeah, there's no wrong answer. It's about what you feel. You know what I mean?
You've told me once that you could sell ice to an Eskimo, so you're not going to sell me that you didn't have something up your sleeve.
I did not. I swear, man. I swear. I was just curious, man. I think because they're 2 players. I feel like today we're talking about 2 players that could fall into that round 3, round 4 area potentially. Now, I do feel like Jaylen Reed's going to be a little bit closer to that round 2, round 3 range. But I'll tell you this, and maybe it's a hot take, maybe I'm an idiot, whatever. But when I watch the film and I look at the totality of everything, and I think about all of the players that Quandarius Robinson has been around, man, if we took him at pick 60, I would be like, man, Brad, that's bold. But I would be like, I get it. I understand it. Because when you start looking at the traits of him, if you really believe, if you got him in for a workout and he looked great, because I'll tell you this, when I watched the pro day, even though he didn't run the pajama 40-yard dash, the way that young man was moving around was, it was kind of reminding me of the guys like, I feel like Donovan Izoroku. He moves really doggone good for somebody who's supposedly just being a edge rusher. He moves, he backpedals and moves side to side and changes direction really well. Mr. Robinson changed his direction really well. So that's something that excites me. And then just watching him on the field, running people down. When he's caught in conflict at the defensive end position to where he's getting read, he plays the game really well, man, from a standpoint of his footwork, being able to sit, kind of force that quarterback to make a decision and then react to it. Man, those are things that I really like about this kid, man. So when I think about that, if we made a bold move, and I'm not saying that's what we're going to do, I'm not saying that that's what we should do, but I would be like, okay, now let's see. Brad, you flexed. Now it's got to pay off. But
yeah, I was just about to say that something like that had better pay off, because we had a conversation the other day about Brad Holmes draft stuff. So that would be another something we'd have to look into, is Q Robinson at pick 60. That's going to raise some eyebrows. I don't know, but I'll tell you this, Will. You guys all know my mindset is defensive end, defensive tackle, rounds 1 and 2, flip flop them, whatever one comes in whatever order. I don't care, but that's what I want. In round 3, I feel like that's where I can start having a little fun. My version of fun is probably in round 3. If I've gotten a D end and a D tackle, my version of fun is probably looking more like a wide receiver, like a Kyle Williams. But I can understand that we also need some safety depth, because we really only have Kirby and Brian Branch. So it's kind of a catch-22. Do you want to get a wide receiver to potentially replace Jameson Williams? And we don't know exactly what's going on there, but maybe another offensive piece. Maybe at the very least we're replacing Tim Patrick. Or do we go out and get a safety, someone who's kind of a need, but you don't really see him? Maybe you can throw him in there in certain formations and certain groupings and personnel. So I don't know. That's just what I'm kind of thinking for the draft. Get me what I want in picks 1 and 2. Round 3, we can start having a little fun. A wide receiver, a safety, an interior offensive lineman. That's kind of where my mind's leaning as we get closer and closer to draft day.
The last thing I'm going to say is this, and it's kind of crazy, but it's at the end of the show, because only 3 people are still watching. Normally people are in for 20 minutes or so, right? So if you're still here, you can deal with my craziness.
Hit the subscribe button if you're still here.
Before I say this, one thing that I've really been paying attention to is I feel like this is a way different top 30 visit season than I've ever seen from Brad so far. And what I mean by is this: even though we didn't get every top 30 visit information, I feel like there was more, and there was more big time names getting unleashed. The names that we're getting is Lampson and Chambliss and Gray Zabel and Josiah Stewart 87 times. It makes me feel like, even with Quandarius, right? He's not a guy his name is getting tossed around, as a day 1 or day 2 pick. You know what I'm saying? So it's making me think to myself, is Brad about to do something crazy? Is he about to trade up in this draft and do something wild? And that's why he's spending so much time looking at 6th round linebackers and
that wide receiver
linebackers
from Arkansas the other day. I thought that was an interesting name too.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of names, man, that are later on in the draft names. So is he about to take some of this? Because I'll tell you this: when you talk about financial responsibility is understanding that you're not about to be able to pay a bunch of people. So that had me thinking, and I'm sure we can really expound upon this later, but it's got me thinking like, man, is financial responsibility getting a couple pieces in this draft because you're not going to be able to pay another Brian Branch, you can't have another draft where you get 5 Pro Bowlers. And you know what I mean? So is financial responsibility using your draft equity to go get 2-3 guys in this draft and then getting the heck out of there? And if so, what exactly does that look like, Steve? Because we are sure interviewing a lot of guys from middle schools and high schools. You know what I'm saying? So it looks like he's trying to find some diamonds in the rough in that 6th and 7th round. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we're drafting in round 1 and round 2, and then we're looking at 6th and 7th rounders that we can pay $100,000 to hang out in practice squads and maybe developing something in 4 years. So I don't know, just something to think about. If you're still here, let me know how you feel about it, because it's kind of where my mind's been going.
I'll tell you this: I think you're onto something, because when I'm seeing some of these names popping up on these top 30 visits, I feel like I'm in a Dr. Seuss book and I'm living in Whoville, Will, because we talked about that wide receiver from Arkansas, and I just said, who? Who are we talking about here? Quandarius Robinson. Who? Like, let's do some homework. But I think the only big name we've really had a top 30 visit for is Shamar Stewart. Is that the biggest one? Like, we haven't really.
Gray Zabel.
Yeah, he's kind of like but I think Shamar Stewart's one of those guys you trade up for. Gray Zabel's one of those guys that might land in your lap at pick 28. So I don't know. But then after that, Josiah Stewart's had 47 interviews and a couple Skype calls. So I feel like, what are we? Yeah, I'm with you. What are we doing? Because after those three, it's who are these guys? Like, we got to go look them up. We got to go do some research. Like, if you're telling me that you watch a lot of Arkansas football and you knew that they had a 6'4" wide receiver out there that's white as it gets and he can catch a football, hey, hats off to you. And I know someone in our comments did mention him a while ago, and I said, hey, good find, but it kind of raised my eyebrows. And today with Quandre raised my eyebrows. So I'm thinking the same thing. Like, I'm telling you, Brad's only leaving here with 5 draft picks. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if it's a first rounder, a second rounder, and like you said, maybe a 4th, 5th, 6th. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I only see 5 people being added to this roster. So I'm with you, Will, to like 99%. I just don't know what's going on because it feels like usually we're linked to some bigger names with some of these visits, but this season's kind of been quiet where it's Gray Zabel, Josiah Stewart, Shamar Stewart. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, and it makes me scratch my head. Will, you got anything else for tonight?
No, that's it, man. Just leave it in the comments. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know where your mind's at. We talked about some dudes today, especially Quandarius Robinson, man. I want to know how people feel about him because he's somebody that I'm obviously pretty excited about, man. The thought of him being a Detroit Lion, and also Jaylen Reed, man. So leave it in the comments. Let us know which one of those guys are you picking at 102. Do you like either of them? And who haven't we talked about yet that you want us to talk about?
Can I share something?
Shoot it.
I think one of our episodes that we got coming up here is going to be absolutely crazy. And Will already knows what it is. I ran it by him before we did this. And I'm going to stand on it. It's going to be one of those ones that I'm probably going to have to get my spear and my shield. And I'm just going to have to defend myself tooth and nail. But I'm going to die on that island. Get ready for it. Stick around. Hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.